Hey guys, it's JL Phoenix, and today I'm going to be drawing a new character I created for the Chaos Troupe, Bastian. Without further ado, let's get started. When I initially came up with the concept for Bastian, I kind of came up with his concept around the same time when I was sketching out some ideas for other staff members within the Chaos and Harmony Theater. Originally, when I had designed Bastian, I kind of approached his design similar to how I approached Wolfgang's design, where I used a bit more circles and rounded shapes to design him. But this would prove to be a problem later on down the road when I go to redraw him in the future, after months of not drawing him shortly after the initial concept. But when I tried to clean up the sketches and everything, I just couldn't get it right. It wasn't feeling right, essentially, when I was drawing him, and I was just like, man, I feel like there's something missing with his design. On top of that, I also couldn't find the right music for him too while I was drawing him, mostly because I just couldn't get the flow of his character. Now, usually when I draw characters and stuff, I listen to music that kind of fit with their personality or with the design that I'm approaching with their character. But when it came to Bastian, one, like I said, couldn't find a song for him. Number two, couldn't exactly get the flow of his drawing going right. And with all of those factors in play, it sort of made me want to give up on the drawing, essentially. A part of me even wanted to not even make this video at all. I was thinking about postponing it to like another week and just switching him out with a different Chaos Troupe character that I had in my arsenal. But at the same time, I was just like, no, I want to stick with my plan. I want to stick with the plan of videos I had in mind and with the planned wallpapers I want to put out on my Patreon, which, shameless plug real quick, I do have free wallpapers available for all my Patreon folks. Right now, the wallpapers that are available are Wolfgang, which is the latest wallpapers I have released, and as far as old wallpapers that are still available up on my Patreon is Kane and Swan. So if you want to get those wallpapers, join the Patreon. Back to the topic at hand. I didn't want to put aside his video or his design or anything. I really wanted to finish him. But at the time, throughout the entire week as I kept drawing him and everything, because I kept approaching his concept and everything, and I was just like, I'm not going to give up on this. I really, really wanted to really get his design going. So what I did was kind of sort of like, anytime I felt like I ran into a brick wall, I stopped, I worked on another drawing, which you will see in the next video. Not like the next one coming, but it will be the next video, what drawing I was working on. I will talk about that later. I just worked on other things at the time and then came back and worked on him. I thought to myself, I kept trying to solve it, essentially. Kind of like how I do when I'm solving math problems. I would stop working on it, leave it off to the side, and just kind of sit there and think about it in a different angle some other time. I thought to myself, okay, maybe I need to see pictures of an alligator, right? Because Bastian is an alligator, even though he kind of does look croc-ish, but he's mostly an alligator. I don't know, he could be both. He's a crocagator. That's what he will be. He's a crocagator. So the solution that I discovered for approaching Bastian's character design came in the form of me actually thinking about two particular characters that are not alligators, but still managed to help me solve my problem anyways. The characters I thought about was Vector from Sonic and Kragar from Legends of Chima, which, yes, like I stated earlier, they're croc characters, but even then, there was something about their designs that made me go, wait a minute, what if I just gave Bastian a neck? Yeah, who would have thought? Just giving Bastian a neck would have been, was the one thing that I needed for his design in order to make his design work. And then, when I did that, it helped so much with me actually drawing him again. In fact, I even decided to change up his shapes a bit. I actually decided to lean in more with like a more square-like shape for him. Technically his torso is a rhombus, but regardless, he's more rectangular and all that stuff. And actually understand the approach that I wanted to go for his design. It just felt more natural. And then, shortly after that, I finally found a song that I felt fit for him too. So I was like, yay! Everything's working out now! Yippee! So afterwards, of course, I went over all the sketches that I did with all of his different emotions and stuff. I wanted to do a little bit more, but I was just like, look, I want to hurry up and start picking out his colors. So I cleaned up the sketches, this time with the new approach of how I did the poses and everything. Then I stopped working on it for a day, then I came back the next day, then I forgot how to draw him that day, then I re-taught myself how to draw him and moved on from there. So now on to the fun part. Colors. So similar to like what I did for Wolfgang, where I had a drawing of him, made different color variations and stuff because I really couldn't figure out what color choices for him. For Bastian, I didn't do that many because I only had so many different varieties in my head, and I really didn't picture him with any other crazy colors outside of just green. But I wanted it to be like a nice green, a light green, a pretty green. I picked a green, and I have plenty of green. And yeah, honestly, there's not a whole lot I can really say about the process outside of the fact that I just grabbed different color variations. But the first one that I did was actually the one I actually am a little more satisfied with, the one that I actually like the most. The other three really didn't fit with what I kind of envisioned in my head, so I just sticked with the first one and moved on from there. I even created a color palette sheet so that way I can go back to it and grab the colors that I need for him and not have to go back to a previous drawing and take the colors that way. So yeah, making it easier for myself. Yippee! And last but not least, and the one thing that's kind of became a tradition at this point when it comes to Chaos Troupe characters now, that anytime I design a new one, is the final illustration, which similar to Wolfgang's illustration with the whole they're standing on some sort of platform with their name on it and the same background and everything. For Bastian, what I did was, of course, draw a pose for him and everything, and I didn't do anything too fancy with this design and everything and whatnot. I did, however, decide to color the inside of his mouth and also the inside part of his nostrils with a slightly darker color just to make him stand out even more in the picture. Now, a part of me still kind of wants to put like some sort of pattern on his skin. Like, I don't want to do scales, but I want to do something like kind of fancy. I'll figure it out later. But in the meantime, I'll stick with what I have and go from there. Now, as I was finishing up with the rest of the illustration, and I had to make sure I scaled Bastian just right, because technically his little platform is way bigger than Noir's and Wolfgang's platforms, especially considering that both of them are also one of the shortest characters in the story, although Noir is taller than Wolfgang slightly. I'm gonna have to do a side-by-side comparison between the two, like, show who's taller. But yeah, Noir's slightly taller, and Wolfgang is a little bit shorter than him. Actually, no, I think Wolfgang is shorter than the Patch Puppets in general. No, Wolfgang is shorter than the Patch Puppets in general. He's one of the shortest characters. Never mind, I am wrong. I got their scales wrong. Yeah. And here's the final result. With going from the first design of Bastian all the way to the finalized design of Bastian, I eventually settled on a design I am more satisfied with. Now, in the future, I do still plan to maybe mess around with his design a little bit more. Again, like I had said earlier during the illustration process, I'm thinking about possibly adding something else to his skin, maybe a little texture or something, who knows? But we'll see when we get there. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about Bastian so far? And have you ever had, like, the same kind of struggle I had with the whole, like, man, this character isn't feeling right, let me change the shape? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I would like to make a special shout out to my Patreon supporters, Zeta787 and the Ocean Shock. Thank you guys so much for your support, and thank you all for subscribing and being part of the Phoenix fans. Have an amazing day, guys!